This is a well-constructed DIY FET rack. All components are within specification. No errors were made when it was built, yet it doesn't work properly. The gain reduction meter doesn't zero. The unit doesn't seem to compress the input signal at all. The output seems low. Don't worry, all of these issues will be fixed by simple calibration. It's a normal and necessary step, even for a factory-made unit. Inside the FET rack are several trimmer potentiometers. There's also one behind the front panel. These trim pots let you compensate for normal differences between transistors and other components. Others let you adjust for subtle environmental changes in temperature. The Rev A has 3 trim pots on the main board, as does the later Rev F. The Rev D tops them all with 4 trimmers. We'll use this model for the rest of the video. Let's start with the most important adjustment, the Q bias. This procedure alone determines how the FET rack limits an audio signal. Start by connecting the output of your audio interface to the input of the FET rack. Carefully connect power to the IEC connector on the rear panel. Connect your digital multimeter to the 2 test points behind the input XLR. Make sure AC volts is selected on the DMM. Set the front panel controls as follows. Turn the input fully counterclockwise. The output knob goes to 36. Turn the attack knob to the off position and the release fully clockwise. Set the ratio to 20:1. Push the +4 meter button. Generate a 1 kHz sine wave. Increase the level until the AC voltmeter reads 0 dBm, or 0.775 volts AC. Turn the Q bias trimmer fully clockwise. Adjust the input control until the VU meter reads +1 VU. As you do, the voltage reading on the DMM will change due to the varying load. With nothing connected to the output, you may hear the transformer sing. Carefully turn the Q bias trimmer counterclockwise until a drop of 1 dB occurs and the meter reads 0 VU. With single-turn trimmers, it requires a little finesse. Turn off the signal generator. Shut off the unit. Disconnect the audio interface. Remember that the Rev F doesn't require a discrete meter null adjustment. The Rev F uses an integrated circuit in the meter driver instead of discrete transistors. For the A and D, move the shunt from the normal position to the set of pins to the right. Clip your multimeter leads to the test points on either side of the transistor pair. Set your multimeter to read DC volts to 2 decimal places. If you cannot set the range, simply disregard anything beyond 2 decimal places. Push the GR button on the meter switch bank. Allow the VU meter to stabilize. Set the null adjust trimmer to the midpoint. Use the front panel trimmer to zero the VU meter. Note the voltage on the multimeter. Use the null adjust trimmer to bring the reading close to 0.00 volts. As you do, the VU meter reading will change. The two readings will seem to fight each other until they gradually converge. Now trim the front panel 0 adjustment. Keep going between the two until the VU meter reads 0 and the multimeter reads 0.00 volts. Once the two agree, move the shunt back to the normal position. When you do, both readings will change, and that's just fine. Shut the unit off. The goal of this step is to make the GR meter show precisely how much gain reduction is being applied to a given input signal. To do this, we'll use a fixed input signal and apply 10 dB of gain reduction. Then we will calibrate the GR function of the front panel meter to accurately display this. Start by setting the front panel controls. Set the input and output to the midpoint. Turn the attack off and the release fully clockwise. Set the ratio to 20:1. Push the +4 meter button. Set the tracking adjustment trimmer to the midpoint. Reconnect your audio interface to the input. Connect the digital multimeter to the two test points behind the input XLR. Set the meter to AC volts. Turn on the 1 kHz sine wave and readjust to 0.775 volts. Use the front panel trimmer to zero the VU meter. Push the +4 meter button. Use the output knob to bring the meter back to 0. Turn the gain reduction on and observe the drop. If it is less than -10, then turn the input knob up. Readjust the output knob to zero the VU meter. Turn the gain reduction on again and observe the drop. If it is greater than -10, then turn the input down. Readjust the output knob to zero the VU meter. Turn the gain reduction on again and observe the drop. We want the input at the correct level to give exactly 10 dB drop when gain reduction is switched in. Once it is adjusted, don't touch the input or output knobs of the front panel for the rest of this calibration. Now change the switch bank to GR. Zero the meter with the front panel trimmer. Switch on the gain reduction and observe the drop. If it is less than -10, turn the tracking adjustment trimmer clockwise. When you do, the VU meter will drop. Re-zero using the front panel trimmer. Turn on the gain reduction. If the drop is more than -10, turn the trimmer counterclockwise. Re-zero the meter. Turn on gain reduction. The trimmer adjustments will become increasingly fine as you hone in on the correct setting. You want it to show a drop of exactly -10 on the VU meter, just as it did when the switch bank was set to +4.